All right, I think we are live, everyone. Pat Kerrane is he is right now either filming. He's probably getting done with his spot on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. You can check that out coming up, I assume, later today on, I assume, this YouTube channel. So while he gets there, I'm gonna fire off some questions. If you're here for the DFS, we'll get there. I'm gonna wait to have an actual conversation with Kerrane about that, or else I'd probably just go nuts talking myself in circles. So go ahead, fire your stuff off in the chat. Looks like an interesting slate. I think we finally have a slate with not all, but almost all of the elite quarterbacks on the slate. And we've certainly added a new elite quarterback in Justin Fields. No way you can't group him with his production in with the likes of Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. I think RotoPat told me this, but outside of Patrick Mahomes, Justin Fields has outscored every other quarterback over the past 4 weeks by like 9 points per game or something like that. Absurd. Like he is truly lapping everyone but Mahomes. And even then, he is clearly the quarterback one over the past, I think it's 4 weeks. I think since week 7 is when he really started popping off. So he's certainly in the elite range. We lost Cooper Kupp, which is a tough blow, and that offense is just dust, but still good wide receiver plays. And we got the Bills game moved out of a potentially scary weather spot. It didn't look like the weather was going to be too bad. Game day, it was more of an infrastructure issue that was going to be the problem. It wasn't as much as the field was going to be absolutely sort of covered. It was that they just couldn't even get people in or out. So we get that. We get them playing in a dome. Gabe Davis, Diggs. Not sure if we'll see Isaiah McKenzie, but those guys playing in a dome, like that's such a smash spot. So curious to see where their ownership is. I haven't checked an ownership update in a few hours, so we'll check that out. Let's fire off some questions. If you got questions, get them in the chat. Starting with, let's see, pick three. Tony, obvious, correct. Pickens, Collins, Campbell, DJ Moore. I'm going to go Campbell, DJ Moore. Campbell, 3 touchdowns in 3 straight games with Matt Ryan, a strong target share in those games. The way Ryan is forced to play now because of his old decrepit arm is perfect for Paris Campbell. I don't think we're going to see as much volume from the offense as we did in the last 2 Ryan starts before Ellinger. I don't know. We don't need to remember it anymore, luckily, because in those games they had a strong like +7, I think +7 or +9 pass rate over expected. In the last game, they still passed short, which was great for Campbell and good enough for Pittman, but they were run heavy. So I think that's more of what we'll see. So we're not, dead set on 10 receptions per game from Paris Campbell. 6 or 7 feels pretty good though. So I think Pat will be joining us here in a minute. So I'm going to go DJ Moore. Hey, let me put my headphones on.
Hey, what's up?
Don't have a co-host. I was just starting the questions. I kind of monologued for a minute or two. I answered this one. It felt pretty obvious. We can keep moving on. Who's the streamer of this week? I'll get this while you set up. We got Goff, Ryan. I'm not playing Matt Ryan. Taylor Heineke or Kenny Pickett. I think it's Jared Goff for me. That offense still, like, I know they haven't been the same highs that they were early in the year, but like, I'm just not playing Matt Ryan, who was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL through like 7 weeks whenever he got benched. He's terrible. You can convince me Taylor Heineke. It's a decent matchup, mostly for the run, which is frustrating, but it's not like Houston has a good secondary either. So I'm going to go Goff here. Let's see what else we got. What's up, Kyle? Not just Kyle anymore. This is a good question. Josh Allen or Justin Fields? I think I'm still going to go, since we got the game moved, I'm going to go back to Josh Allen. I think if there was any sort of weather risk, like that's a good hair split to favor Justin Fields, because he is, even though he's running over expectation, he's still the QB3 since week 7, I believe. So it's not like his expectation is still great, even if he gets hot beyond it. So,
but Josh Allen's going to be the QB1 this week, so it's
yeah, just getting to move Josh Allen into a dome, like, come on.
Yeah, we're starting Josh Allen, I think, there. Let's just do some. So yeah, sorry I'm late here, guys. But let's plan to do Q&A for like the next 15 minutes, and then we'll start talking DFS at that point. Throw in your questions. We do not answer trades you already made. I'm kind of looking forward to the trade deadline, Kyle, so we don't have to answer trades that were already made. And you only have to throw your question in once. We'll start at the beginning and go through in chronological order of the questions. So throw it in once, or I will end up reading it twice if you don't. But please just do it once. All right, need PPR drop to pick up Paris Campbell. So who's the drop? Darius Slayton, Jacoby Myers, Alan Lazard, Christian Watson. I have an itch to drop a Packers wide receiver feeling a Rodgers shutdown to play Jordan Love. I don't think that's happening.
I mean, they are terrible, but it's not.
They are terrible. Yeah, maybe I'm not fully.
It's not that bad. It's
processing that.
No, I don't think it's that bad yet. And if it happens, it wouldn't be for like half a season. Like we're past halfway already, but it would be like they said he's dealing with a thumb thing. They sit him for the final 2 games. I wouldn't be that level of concern. It's not like a deranged thought. I get the idea behind it. The season is pushing up on being lost. But they're only 4-7, right? If they're 2 wins right now, the thought really crosses my mind. We're still a bit away from that, to be honest. I mean, I'm not even 100% sure I would drop any of these guys for Paris Campbell, but if you want to do it, Darius Slayton, I think those 2 guys are like a coin flip. It's perfectly fine.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's a coin flip. It would be Slayton if you want to do it. I would not drop either Packers guy. And don't drop Jacoby Myers. He's the clear number 1. Yeah. But I think dropping Slayton for Campbell would be fine. I've been kind of touting Slayton. I think he's the Giants' number 1, but doesn't count for a ton. All right, flex 1, Pacheco, DeAndre Swift, George Pickens, DJ Moore.
I'm not playing Swift. I think I kind of want to go Pacheco. You could totally convince me DJ Moore. I do think the way you talked about DJ Moore, his splits with Baker Mayfield, may be like a tad overblown. Because, they had more pass catchers to throw to, different head coach, but I'm still going to go Pacheco, I think.
I guess it's like, what do you need? I know it's like somewhat of a cop-out answer, but if you need like 11 points, I'd definitely go Pacheco, right? But if you're like, I want an actual ceiling. I mean, Pacheco, I guess, could score multiple times, but it's not really how the Chiefs play.
He's not catching passes. He's probably really capped at 2 touchdowns. Most likely a ceiling game is 1 touchdown. So yeah, I definitely think his ceiling is a lot lower than DJ Moore's, where in any game the Panthers wind up throwing the ball 35 times, that could be a 14 target game for DJ Moore.
Exactly. Yeah.
And 35 is not a high number to get to.
Right. I would lean more just for the ceiling, because generally in fantasy matchups, I feel like break ties for the ceiling, but yeah, Pacheco definitely has a better floor. Are you interested in starting MVS with the Chiefs receivers out? I mean, it's kind of Kadarius Toney season, isn't it? MVS isn't earning targets. He's not getting open either. ESPN has this new open metric. It's on 538 for free. MVS is way low. I think he's in the 50s or 60s in this open score, which uses player tracking data to determine on both targeted and untargeted routes if wide receivers are open. It's a pretty cool new metric. I think it helps explain why MVS is having trouble earning targets. He's not getting open.
Yeah, I will say, I do think one thing that, I know, target separation and those kinds of stats, are a lot determined, at least, I don't know if this has been proven mathematically, but it's a lot the guys with, short ADOTs get a lot of, target separation. The guys who are deep, you cover the deep guy. You're not going to let a deep guy get 5 yards on you. So it makes sense.
AJ Brown leads the league in
AJ Brown's great.
And he did last year as well. Yeah.
He's so good.
You can get open deep.
You can get open. No. It's the thing is, a mediocre, I don't mean mediocre in a bad way. I mean perfectly middle of the road field stretcher like MVS is not going to get open a ton. He gets half a yard of separation and Mahomes throws a gem to him. That's how his plays work out. So I'm not the most concerned that he doesn't get separation, because I don't think he's designed to. In fact, if he's super covered, it's probably also useful for the offense. It's not super useful for him. So sure, you can play MVS, go for it. He's going to be on the field probably 100%. They weren't taking him off hardly before. He wasn't earning routes, like you said, or wasn't earning targets, but they weren't really taking him off the field. They're certainly not doing it now. Being on the field for every snap close to it with Patrick Mahomes is good. It'd just be better if he was better.
Yeah. I think you certainly can play him. I guess it would depend, who you're playing him over. He's in the mix, but it'd be helpful if we knew who you were considering.
This was from last night. I think I even
nice.
I didn't know. I didn't even tout this. Someone in chat, I assume it was JD, but maybe someone else mentioned it or whatever, said any interest in Dontrell Hilliard? And me and Vaughn were both what is it, +6, +700? We checked and it was +500. We're well, if we're guessing that it's not, if we guess a little high, maybe you shouldn't bet it. Maybe you should have. I don't know.
Is your streak still alive on the betting thing?
What streak?
What do you like? Did you have a long winning streak on?
Oh, I did have like a whole week-long winning streak on Bet the Edge or whatever the show.
Yeah.
Battle of the Bets. Sorry, Battle of the Bets.
Battle of the
Bet
Bets. Yeah, I was blanking really bad.
That was like a month ago. Okay, I did.
Well, that's why I was like, oh my god, are you still going?
Yeah, and the best part is like that would have been like it's just like a 3 bets versus 3 bets. So like I can't imagine there's a strong like game theory perspective that you would want to take a long shot really. So it'd be hilarious. Right. I took when we were on for I was on in the middle of the week. So if you win, you get to go back on. But like I went on a Tuesday. There's nothing I can like I have a strong field of knowledge on. So I was like, maybe this is the time Aaron Judge gets the 60 whatever home run. You better believe he did.
Yeah. We did get from Andrew here. He's saying over someone like Jamal Williams for MVS. I think I might do that.
Williams. I don't know.
Would you? Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. He played like 40% of the snaps last week. I just think the Lions backfield is kind of gross. Start Pitts or Dulcich. I think I'd go MVS, but Kyle's Jamal. Pitts or Dulcich. If it's gonna happen for Pitts, I feel like it's this week. But if it's gonna happen for Dulcich, it's also this week. both have really, really good matchups.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Pitts. But Dulcich is good Pitts too. They're both probably ranked in my top like 9.
I think they're both I shouldn't say very strong plays because they have no floors, but
as far as tight ends who aren't ranked top 2 go, they're strong plays.
Yeah, they're not Andrews or Kelsey, so they are very strong plays.
Yes.
All right, Pickens or Darius Slayton?
Slayton.
Slayton.
Yeah.
I think I'm not into Pickens. Dude, I tried to convince one of our teams that a high-stakes team desperately needs a win. I go, we got to start Burks over Pickens this week. Outvoted co-managed team. There's like 5 of us. Every other person on the team was like, Pickens and you're crazy. Pickens and you're crazy. This was shouted down. Okay, guys, wait until Pickens has 3 catches. Thanks a lot.
3 catches feels optimistic.
It does, doesn't it? By the way, with this open score metric I was talking about, looked up MVS.
He's another one. I think he's actually the one you brought up because he is near dead last in it. And his routes are not like designed to create tons of separation. But like you said, it is not impossible to get separation 10 yards downfield.
That's very kind. His routes are not designed. I think pretty sure all routes are designed to create separation. Marcus Valdes-Scantling, 67 of 68. Robbie Anderson, to your deep threat point, is last. And George Pickens, 64th. Gabe Davis is very low in here. So maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones at the end. Maybe this deep threat thing you have. I think that's actually didn't someone show that like separation declines as you go further and further down the field. So.
Yeah, I brought that up earlier, but I couldn't remember exactly how like the data worked. But I knew generally as like a kind of trying to recall it is that yes, as you go farther downfield, like separation is just harder to get, and that's okay. Like that's perfectly fine.
Chris Olave ranks 6th though.
Yeah, so exactly. It is not impossible to be. You have to be really good.
George Pickens doesn't do it.
Exactly. Like it shows you that like, yes, like there's nuance to this, but there's also levels to how good these players are. And some are a lot better than others.
Yeah. We should be grading on a curve. I mean, Olave, you and I are both, and I was not a big Olave guy heading into the season, but we are both pretty big fans of his right now. Is Derrick Henry a QB1 after last night?
I saw somewhere that Derrick Henry
a lot of rushing equity.
He's like Malik Willis if Malik Willis was good, in fact.
True.
Yeah, he has like back-to-back seasons with 2 passing touchdowns and hasn't caught a touchdown in either of those seasons.
Oh, man. That's wild. All right, pick 2 between Pollard, Elliott, and Elijah Mitchell. Well, Pollard, yes, in Elliott or Elijah Mitchell. Are you starting both Cowboys backs? Yeah, no, I think I'd be starting Mitchell too. If Hollywood plays, do I play him or Foreman at the flex? Well, you won't know until.
Yeah, I'd be shocked. I mean, maybe we get information before then, but I'm guessing we won't know. I'm guessing the Cardinals have done this a bunch that they're going to ride their player out till game time. Did it with Kyler.
I think you have to start Foreman because we're not going to. Yeah, the Panthers are 1:00, right? Am I wrong?
I assume so. Yeah, they're both East Coast teams, so it has to be.
You're not going to know until I think Sunday afternoon whether he's been activated. So
yeah, unless we just
maybe there'll be a Schefter bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
If we get something like they're definitely updating him, maybe, but I still think it's kind
only
of
way I do it. That is, I would take.
If you knew for a fact he was starting, would you even want to start him over Foreman?
I think so. It's such a brutal matchup for Foreman. Like he runs like roughly half the routes, but he doesn't get targeted. Like he's not a target getter on his routes, so it's even harder for you to project him for more than like 2 targets or 3 targets in a game where they get blown out. So I think I would, but I'd be almost shocked if we do get that update. I'd bet anything against it.
I agree.
So Foreman.
Yeah, throw in Foreman. Pick 2, half-point PPR, Rondale Moore, Antonio Gibson, Garrett Wilson.
Rondale Moore. I'm going to take the receivers.
I'm going to take the receivers too. I think that for me it would be Moore's in, because I don't think we're probably getting Brown, but
I don't think so either. I think it's unlikely.
Yeah. And then Gibson versus Wilson would be the decision, but I think I'd go Wilson. Neither of us is buying a resurgence for Elijah Moore this week. 2 flex full PPR. I need Sutton, Gabe Davis, Tyler Boyd, Kadarius Toney, or Deontay Foreman. I think Sutton.
Yeah, right? Definitely Sutton. Like wide receiver 1 in a great spot. I mean, obviously, no spot is great when Russell Wilson's your quarterback this year, but I still think you got to bet on it.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go Toney over Davis.
I don't think it's crazy. I mean, both are in really good matchups. I'd probably go Davis. I mean, you could. I said Sutton, right? He's listed first, and I like the matchup. You could talk me into Toney over Sutton, though. To be honest,
you could. Yeah, you could too.
So I think to me, I'd cross out Boyd, easy. Cross him out.
I'm only considering these 3 receivers we're mentioning. Don't even think about anyone else.
I think Foreman, like, it's not crazy, but he wouldn't be really in the mix. So honestly, I think I'd go Davis and Toney and just play for ceiling. I mean, what is Sutton? Is he going to have a huge game? They're going to throw like 25 times.
Let's do it. Let's have some fun. Davis and Toney.
All right. Sorry for being wrong. Okay. Started Lazard this week. Why do I hate myself? I mean,
it was a fine start.
This tough. Yeah. Off script. But please write QB fill-ins in form. Okay. He needs a QB fill-in for Kyler Murray. Jimmy G versus what's going on? This is week. This is a week ahead.
They're looking out. They're planning for the playoffs. They are planning, or maybe.
Oh my God! All the information in my head is week 11 related. But
they gave the matchups though. And that's all that matters. Yeah,
that's true. This is for Kyler Murray's week 13 bye week. Jimmy G versus Miami. Trevor Lawrence versus Detroit. I think that's going to be who it is. Aaron Rodgers versus Chicago.
I don't know. That Rodgers-Chicago matchup might be. He sucks. Why am I even bringing him up?
Sucks.
Go with Trevor. I could argue Jimmy though.
He has to defend the run. You know, Chicago's running all over him. Slow game.
Yeah.
They ran the clock out of him themselves last night.
Dude, I saw like different clips of it.
They might as well just start kneeling when down. I mean,
maybe that person saying Jordan Love might be in soon was right, because they did seem to give up in a close game with like 8 minutes left. Go with Trevor.
Yeah, I'd go with Trevor. Yeah, he's shown some upside. I mean, he's volatile, right? He throws picks in the end zone and stuff, but like that volatility can work in your favor occasionally. Michael Pittman or Darnell Mooney. Michael Pittman. I'm very bullish on Michael Pittman this week. I think he's going to see a lot of targets. This Jeff Saturday offense seems to be about funneling a lot of touches to his best guys. So, yeah, Pittman all the way. Rest of season standard scoring. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Treylon Burks, Christian Watson. I think it's between the rookies.
It definitely is between the rookies. I don't want to be too, like, focus on 5 plays focused, but, like, this Watson fella seems like he can score touchdowns, and you're in standard.
I think it's probably Watson, too. Yeah.
He may also have the yardage advantage too, because he's going to get so many deep shots. Whereas like both these offenses are not like designed to pile up yards, but especially like if you guess passing yards per game rest of season, is it Tannehill or Rodgers? I still think I'm saying Rodgers.
Yeah. It'd almost be comparable to like Gabe Davis versus Brandon Ayuk or something, like in terms of player archetype.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah. I get it.
I think in standard, you'd probably prefer Davis
easily in that scenario, and I think to me that sells me more that Watson is the guy.
Yeah. Pat, please do not break anything today. Apparently audio was weird earlier, but so far so good.
You sound fine.
All right. Dameon Pierce, he needs 1 in PPR. Dameon Pierce or Jamal Williams.
Pierce.
He's got Barkley, Rashad White, Jalen Warren, Kyron Williams. Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, Pierce. Yeah, all the way. Curtis Samuel, Devontae Smith, Chase Claypool. Pick 2.
Smith. Oh, and then Samuel.
Samuel. Claypool's not playing right now, unfortunately. Pittman or Slateman. I think we got this, but it's Pittman.
You got that one, yeah.
Yeah. Who is playing DFS to make money? Kyle, do you know anyone? Not me.
I made money in DraftKings Showdown last night, but the Spurs late scratched someone while I was doing something else, and I lost a lot of money in NBA.
God, Kyle, that is the sickest thing I've ever heard.
Well, look, they didn't have a 7 p.m. slate, so I got to play the main slate.
You lost because the Spurs scratched someone.
I was firing on a bunch of stuff was overlaying. And they scratched someone with, I think, 7 minutes left is when we found out he was not in the starting lineup. And I just wasn't paying attention. I was like, I was on the DraftKings app, but I was firing on overlay. And
I'm literally crying. Oh my God, that's so bad. All right, that's actually a great transition. Let's talk some DFS, Kyle. It's been a rough DFS season for a lot of the people who can, like to consider themselves sharp here. A lot of chalk hitting, difficult to kind of pair the right contrarian pieces, at least for me. Let's talk some of the games we like. Okay. And by the way, we are going to get back to some more start sits. So continue throwing in your questions. We'll get to them at the end. We'll do another 15, 20 minutes at the end. But for now, we're going to talk some DFS. And so Josh Allen and this Browns game, now that it's in Detroit, I mean, obviously the total skyrockets, right? And I was looking at how Miami played the Browns last week, and they didn't care at all about this Browns run funnel defense. It's very much
Kings.
optional.
That's what we call that.
Yeah. So Bills, I think, are going to play to their own strengths. Maybe if they were in the freezing cold with 6 feet of snow, they would run the ball, but they're not going to do that in a dome. So Josh Allen, I think, huge ceiling. We also saw Khalil Shakir, I believe, had 8% route participation last week. That meant that Isaiah McKenzie, that meant that Dawson Knox were running like full slates of routes. I think they're in play as kind of like, dart throw types. I want to get your thoughts on kind of how deep we can go in DFS with this Bills offense, because Devin Singletary also 73% snap share. Since the Bills traded for Nyheim Hines, they've not shown any indication that they're moving away from him, even though they're repeatedly trying to replace him. They just then don't do it. And then on the Browns side, I think, Nick Chubb, obviously probably the most likely way for the Browns to be putting up points on the other side. But Amari Cooper, as John Daigle pointed out on Twitter, not technically on the road this week. So the home run splits may not apply. We might have a neutral field matchup narrative for Amari Cooper after this.
Yeah, I think you pointed out at least one of the massive games is going to be Buffalo versus the Browns. And like always with Buffalo, of course you want their opponent to push them, but you really don't need it that much. The only scenario in which like the opponent not pushing them has really hurt us is when they get to bench Josh Allen for the final quarter and he ends up with 32 instead of 44 or whatever. Otherwise,
Allen is incredible as a front runner. If he's got a lead, he's still crushing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like their pass rate over expected almost just insulates them from any bad game script, bad for DFS purposes being when you win by too much, unless he's getting benched. And Browns are a competent team. Of course, they can boat race any team because they're so good. We have Isaiah McKenzie not practicing because of illness, but illness is a pretty soft thing that people play through. So, I mean, if he isn't playing, I assume Khalil Shakir's got to be like 3,300. So I'd probably be he's 3K flat. But if I don't know. I probably wouldn't be too interested in going to him. I'd probably rather look to go to Dawson Knox in this spot. Like you said, we're pretty confident.
3,200 on DraftKings. I mean,
it's so cheap. Like when he was 4.2 or whatever early in the year, he was 4.1 and then he opened the year at 4.4. In those games, he wasn't even running like a full route share. It's steadily worked his way up, especially since he came back from was like a back end. I don't know. He's had a bunch of injuries, but especially since he's come back from that. He's running a pretty consistent role, and at his price, you don't even need him to run 100% routes. You're fine with like 70 or something. So, yeah, I'd totally go with the Knox Diggs or Knox Davis plus Allen. And the run backs, I don't think you have to, but they're cheap enough, especially like if you don't use Knox. Harrison Bryant's out there for almost all of the snaps. Donovan Peoples-Jones is pretty cheap still for a strong role. And is this not technically? I assume do they still call the Browns is it truly a neutral field now, or like? Brown's still designated home?
Well, no, technically.
Is it sleep schedules that are screwing Amari Cooper?
Well, that's the jersey color. What we're asking is that he's hearing, the crowd noise? Is that what's getting to him?
Yeah, what's the root cause?
What's the root cause? Is that he's outside? Does he hate being outside? Although I guess he's outside.
Browns are outside at home.
Browns are outside, so that doesn't make sense. But whatever it is, You know, maybe it's just total noise, but whatever it is, you know, we don't really have it.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it's just a narrative that we made up. but no matter what, it's not fully in effect because he's not in the Buffalo's home stadium.
Yeah, totally. And to me, whenever I mean, I think Allen will be a top 3 own quarterback, but I still would kind of bet on Justin Fields being more popular. And I think
Yeah.
almost any time. I think Allen is such a
His
high
ceiling's
ceiling
so
player
high.
that
Yeah.
anytime he is not the most owned quarterback, I just kind of want to windmill that. Even if, of course, like Fields at 900 cheaper is a really good play. Falcons defense is terrible. Fields is running more. But I think almost every spot, Josh Allen should be the highest owned quarterback. The elbow injury doesn't seem to be bothering him at all. He ran like a
50
lunatic last week.
dropbacks.
Yeah,
50
he was like out
dropbacks
there
last week.
ready to fight dudes. He was lowering his shoulder to pick up first
Yeah,
downs.
he's elbowing dudes.
So, I mean, I'm not concerned with that. It's an indoor game. The total has shot back up to 48 or 49, I think.
Yeah.
So it looks
Great
like
game environment. It was just the weather that had people worried.
so. I think
let's talk.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think GPP row in me says I'm going to take a lot of Allen over Fields.
I like Allen a lot. But let's talk Fields because he's up to 7,600 on DraftKings. But man, he is in an awesome spot as far as the strength of the Falcons' pass defense. Now, I think there are a couple ways this game can fail for Justin Fields. One, the Falcons we know are going to be super run heavy. The Bears can't defend the run. They also can't defend the pass. So I think the Falcons can like move the chains with their passing offense. So obviously they're going to pass as little as they have to. But if they have like a 3rd and 6, like they have a decent chance of converting that, continuing to grind the clock, you know. And then on the Bears side, you can run all over the Falcons too. You don't. It's not like they have a stellar run defense. You have to pass them. Their run defense is terrible. So both these teams could go really, really run heavy. There could be limited plays in this game. And then what happens if Justin Fields, when he has his 50-yard run, he gets tackled at the 2, and David Montgomery gets in the end zone? I mean, David Montgomery, actually, I think is kind of decent leverage off of Fields here. But what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, to me, the way the Bears play and obviously the way the Falcons play does set up so much more for a team to fail in terms of having like a ceiling DFS outcome. I mean, you don't need to guess who the number 32 and number 31 teams in pass rate over expected are. They face each other in this game. So, and even in the past few weeks, we've seen, teams have tended to run a bit more. The Falcons' opponents have a negative pass rate over expected. So, and the Bears are slightly negative as well. So, in recent weeks, teams have chosen slightly, it's nothing crazy, but have also chosen to run when they're facing the Bears and facing the Falcons. So, and both these defenses are beatable in just about any way. They're beatable by the ground. And like you said, I love Justin Fields. As someone who was a big bag holder on Fields in best ball and season long, this is much needed. We've been waiting for this. However, in a DFS context, back-to-back games with 60-yard touchdown runs feels a little unsustainable. Do I still think he is a top 3 to 4 fantasy quarterback? Yes. But do I think there are ways in which he gets 24 points and, Josh Allen gets 44? Yeah, and I think the field's going to kind of flip it and go the other way. So I do like this game. And I think one thing is I still don't think people are stacking Fields enough. Obviously, he's not like a great passing quarterback, but part of stacking isn't that it's that I'm sure that it's going to ensure that I get a great lineup. It just makes it more likely that you knock out 3 spots of a lineup in which you need to get 9 out of 9 fire emojis. So, and it's been Cole Kmet has been a perfectly good stacking option. Mooney is still seeing a pretty hefty chunk of the air yards. It's kind of come down since they got Claypool, but he's still the number 1 receiver. It's very obvious that's the case. So I'm totally fine with a Mooney, and Pitts is just a good points per dollar value. So I'd play him.
Could you play Fields and Montgomery together? I guess maybe the example would be maybe this isn't a perfect example, but I think it was against the Falcons last year. The Cowboys, Zeke and I think CeeDee Lamb or one of the receivers went off together as the Falcons got demolished by the Cowboys. So you could play for a script where the Bears just completely smash. Does that have any interest? Or I guess you're also eating 2 really chalky pieces. I didn't realize how chalky Montgomery was going to be.
Yeah, it looks like since we got Khalil Herbert ruled out, Montgomery's gonna be like top 5 most rostered running back. I guess the thing is, it almost makes it more appealing to play either one of them in that. Sure, like let's say both of them. I don't think this will be quite accurate, but let's say both of them are 20%, just for argument's sake. Like if you're 20% hits, you still do kill off 20, assuming like they're negatively correlated.
Yeah.
I don't know that's probably not exactly true. But if you get a 3 touchdown game on the ground from Montgomery, you're probably not getting many from Fields. You still do get to knock off 20% of Fields lineups. I think it's gonna be more like 15 and 22 or whatever, maybe 15 and 19. Not really the point on the specifics. I will say, like, you could probably go there in pretty small field, but we are not getting a lot of targets for Montgomery. I mean, we've kind of seen this as a trend with rushing quarterbacks over the years, is that even though Montgomery has been running a lot of routes, he out routes Khalil Herbert every single week by a wide margin. And that's obviously going to be true of him versus Tristan Ebner. But 1 target, 2 target, 3 target, 0, 1. Like he has 2 games over 3 targets. So even though he does run a lot of routes, which is good, and that could maybe boost the correlation of him in fields, it hasn't converted into targets. So outside of the smallest fields, I probably wouldn't play this one with Montgomery and Fields.
Would you play this on the other side with Mariota?
I thought about that. Yeah, I think it's certainly viable. He's so cheap, and like if he throws for 2 and rushes for 1, he could push upwards for like 30 points. I do kind of struggle to see the ceiling. And if Mariota has a like tournament close to winning week, I really feel like Fields dropped another 40 burger.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's certainly viable. Like he's really honing in on Kyle Pitts. So if we get Kyle Pitts over 100 and a touchdown and Mariota runs in 2, like that could be enough to where cheap quarterback, especially with having a lot of good high price wide receivers, cheap quarterback, Pitts is a relatively cheap tight end. That's the stack you needed, right? But
I guess, but he has to run in 2, and I'm like, that's not happening. He's not going to do that.
And he's not running for 100. He's not throwing for 300.
Right.
I mean, like, it's not impossible that we get a game like the game they played, at least in terms of like pace and plays run versus the Panthers. But even in that game, they still ran so much.
Yeah. Any other quarterbacks or game environments jump out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Daniel Jones versus the Lions will be popular. It's just such a playing the Lions is just such a nice thing. But I do think they're just gonna give the rock so many times to Saquon Barkley. I probably wouldn't. I don't think I'll play Daniel Jones. I think Kirk Cousins and maybe Dak. Yeah, Kirk Cousins and Dak will probably both be popular. It's another spot where I don't hate it. Maybe I'm just so zeroed in on Josh Allen that I don't really want to. But also, I know these are not as good of plays as Fields or Allen, but I don't think a lot of people are going to go to Hurts or Lamar Jackson. And those guys have just the same ceiling as Fields. There are 4 players with 40-point ceilings on this slate, and that's half of them, Hurts and Jackson. So I don't think I'd be going contrarian by getting just a mediocre Kirk Cousins or whatever. I'd probably rather go to Hurts Jackson.
I'm with you there. I mean, Mark Andrews looks like he's going to play. He's not crazy expensive. So, I think that skinny stack is pretty interesting with Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, so we've talked about Hurts. I agree Hurts is interesting. Allen is very, very interesting. Jackson's interesting. Fields is not cheap anymore. How do we make this fit? Let's talk running back. Because a lot of the running back chalk that I'm looking at does not seem to be cheap. So how are we fitting these lineups together? And what are your feelings on the running back chalk this week?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Pierce, maybe Josh Jacobs. If people are paying up, it's obviously Barkley and David Montgomery. My guess is the most. I'll be interested to see if people are playing Montgomery with Fields, because I wouldn't personally do that, but it's clearly the best value plays is going to Montgomery and Pierce. I don't know if I said this last week or when I said this, but underdog Dameon Pierce, who doesn't catch a ton of passes, who he hasn't had a carry inside the 5 since his last touchdown, which was week 5 in versus Jacksonville. And that's not his fault, right? I'm not saying he's a bad running back. In fact, he's a very good running back. He's number 2 in missed tackles forced. He is top 10 in yards after contact per attempt. When you look at his box scores, those don't matter. They don't matter how good he is if this Texans team can't get him in the paint 2 times. He's great, but who cares? Look at his fantasy performances: 20, 15, 14, 16, 13. If you're not getting in the paint, and even the Jacksonville game, he got in the end zone, and so did he for Tennessee. He they just don't. the Texans are terrible. Why am I playing a underdog running back on a terrible team who doesn't catch a ton of passes? Like, he runs a little over half the routes, but like, to be on a bad team and be successful, you really have to be like Eckler, McCaffrey level of receiver, or really cheap. So
Yeah,
I'm not going to play a single Pierce lineup, I don't think.
I'm with you there. What about Stevenson?
I'll be interested to see how they use Stevenson, because he's like, I don't want to say significantly, he's 600 more than Montgomery. He's only 200 more than Pierce. I think his role actually maybe will look like Pierce, but with a little more receiving work, maybe a little less rushing work, like flip those in terms of the value. But I'd probably play him over Dameon Pierce, because I think his team has a far better chance at beating their opponent, the Jets, than I'd say Pierce does. And especially in terms of just putting up points, even though the Patriots aren't great, I still think they're a better offense than Houston. So yeah, actually earlier in the week, I didn't know if I'd end up getting to Pierce, but getting to Stevenson, given how much of like a direct pivot at just 200 more with probably a better role, because I care so much more about Stevenson's targets than I do about some of Pierce's like empty calorie carries. I actually don't hate Stevenson.
Yeah. So Montgomery, I do think I'll end up playing Montgomery because I'm going to need like one of the cheaper guys who has a decent projection, and he's only 6,100 on DraftKings. I don't love a lot of so I agree with you on Pierce. I don't love the spot for Stevenson. I don't think it's terrible.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jets pass defense is really good. They could struggle to move the ball this week. Josh Jacobs also facing a very strong pass defense. The Raiders really struggling. His role's locked in, but like it's all about percentage of the team offense. He hasn't been like an incredible rusher. He's just getting it. He's been good, but he hasn't been like elite. Joe Mixon, I think Joe Mixon's actually in a pretty strong spot. So that would
Joe Mixon's in a smash spot this week.
He's in a smash spot. So he definitely scares you. And I would like to find a way to get him in a lineup. Alvin Kamara, I don't love the spot there. I actually think it's kind of a bad spot. Saquon Barkley is in an incredible spot, but he's 8,900. Jonathan Taylor coming off a massive snap share. He's 7,800. Not, I would say, in a smash spot, but in a pretty good spot. The Eagles are not good against the run. Yeah, so that's kind of like, I don't know. I guess one, how do I fit if I'm trying to play Josh Allen? I don't think I'm gonna be able to fit Mixon, right? So I'm already kind of like trying to figure out how this works.
I do have a super deep punt receiver that we'll get to 3K that you can fit some Mixon into your Josh Allen teams. Though you're still like also punting defense, but with Allen you get it to at least, if you play a tight end from that game, you get to punt that as well.
That's true.
You correlate DBJ, that's cheap. So but yeah, it is tough. You're playing. I mean, I think one of the ways, and I think this may get steamed because it is one of the most obvious ways to get good players in your lineups, is playing Brian Robinson coming off of a 26 carry game. He is a favorite versus Houston's dreadful run defense. Is just so cheap. He doesn't need more than like 100 and a touchdown to be like a true tournament winning running back this week.
What about Antonio Gibson? He's barely more expensive.
I don't want to play Antonio Gibson. I mean, it is certainly possible.
I don't know. I think he's better. So
I think he's probably better, but like someone tell the team that. Like,
yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
I mean, I totally agree. He's better. I will not push back against that at all. But like, no one has told Ron Rivera yet.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. I don't think I'll end up going there. Brian Robinson, 5,300. I mean, I get it. I definitely get it. But it's the type of slate where I feel like something like that is what you're going to need. Like if you can get an okay game from Brian Robinson, and because there's so many like higher price guys that I want to play that I think have massive ceilings, like just run away from the field type of ceilings, that you probably don't need the nuts from Brian Robinson.
Yeah, that's why I'm really thinking about it as like a viable play. 'Cause I don't think he has like 30 points in his ceiling. Like he's going to catch at most like a pass. And I mean, he can go for negative yards on that pass. I think he had 2 for -6 a few weeks ago or something. So he's going to catch at most a pass. He's not going to get all of the carries. We did see last week, like I am pretty confident in saying he's their lead back in terms of between the tackles, raw carry volume.
He definitely is. Yeah.
And this is a game where they could, again, they got like 44 carries last week or something. I think they got even more than that, actually. They could do that again. So I think at 5,300, if he gets 20 for 105 and a touchdown, like that might be enough if Josh Allen digs nukes or something like that.
All right, I'm about 30 more seconds away from actually starting Brian Robinson in a DFS lineup. So let's move to wide receiver before you break me. So anything jump out outside of kind of the game environments we're talking about, like, Stefan Diggs, pretty interesting. We talked about Pittman in the start sit. I really do like him. 6,100 on DraftKings. That's pretty nice. But who jumps out to you at wide receiver?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see both CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. They basically have roles that, like, they're not quite Justin Jefferson, but they're not far off, and they're like 2K or 1,700 cheaper. So I think those two will be really popular. Maybe that makes Justin Jefferson not the most popular player for his ceiling, which is like, I think you could argue, and we saw it last week, that CeeDee Lamb and maybe Amon-Ra have the same, and obviously Diggs have the same ceiling, but it's also about Jefferson's consistent ability to get to his ceiling. I mean, he has like 4 30-point games, a 40-point game. So, of course, like, a lot of players have high ceilings, but he gets there all the time. So I think maybe there's a little bit of like contrariness to getting up to a Jefferson, at least in terms of going him over Amon-Ra or CeeDee Lamb. And I do think, like, I am a little bit concerned with Minnesota's offense that if they don't have Christian Darrisaw, they will get roasted by this pass rush. I mean, the Cowboys are averaging just shy of 4 sacks per game, and that is like almost a half sack gap between them and the next best team. Like, they're easily the league's best pass rush.
They're also not great against the run, and I think you could see the Vikings really shift to the run here.
Yeah, no one's going to play Dalvin Cook. No one ever plays. People haven't been playing Dalvin Cook in like 8 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, Dalvin Cook actually sounds like a pretty good play.
That's pretty interesting. What's he at? 8,000?
He's expensive. He's like not a good points per dollar play. Like, he doesn't get like he doesn't have the role that Taylor had last week, and Taylor's 200 cheaper, but no one will be playing Dalvin Cook this week.
Well, no one will play Nick Chubb either, who's 8,200. I feel like is a totally off the board play. I don't know how you make that work, because you probably want to have
Allen Chubb, Diggs is a very.
You can't probably do that, but you could maybe do like a mini with like Knox and bang out something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Chubb could have a really big game if they can keep the game close. Bills run defense has not been good. But yeah, let's get back to wide receiver. Anyone else jump out?
Yeah, I mean, Terry McLaurin is so underpriced at 5,900. Like, he's not quite. You could argue he's like Amon-Ra or CeeDee Lamb level of volume. Once we got Taylor Heineke takeover, level of like target share volume. The team sucks, so it's not the same.
I hear you.
You can't, this is where, like, target share sort of masks the fact that, like, oh, Kyle Pitts, 98% area share. Yeah. But the offense isn't like terrible to the it's not Atlanta. It's not great. But Heineke has shown a very strong propensity to just chuck it up there, F it, Terry McLaurin down there somewhere. And it's worked out for 2 or 3 weeks. He's gotten over 100 yards. So I think he's a perfectly fine play. Maybe like Brian Robinson could also be leverage off him, though. Brian?
God damn it, I'm in. You got me. Yes. I'm going to play Brian Robinson now. I'm gonna roll out David Montgomery and Brian Robinson, who might be like 2 of the worst running backs in the entire league, and they're both going to be in my lineup. It's probably,
and they're both going to combine.
I'm going to have a lineup with that.
You're going to get 54 carries for like 106 yards combined. Obviously, neither of them hit the bonus.
They don't hit the bonus together, probably. The bonus is not the play. They need to score touchdowns. All right, let's. You teased a 3K wide receiver, and I would love to know who that is.
Isaiah Hodgins. Wan'Dale Robinson wasn't practicing early in the week. Hodgins was added from. I still think he was on the Bills practice squad. Actually, and because he played with this Bills staff that has sort of been exported to New York, and immediately showed up for a handful of targets. A pair of targets for 41 yards in week 10. It was 2 targets, caught both for 41 yards. Is out there a decent amount. He could be this team's number 2 receiver. And is 4K flat, and it's not like he doesn't know the system. Like, he was brought in recently, but it's the same thing we saw with like Jeff Wilson immediately stepping up in Miami.
So wait, how much is he?
3K flat. He's min.
3K. Okay. I'm totally enemy. He was taken by the Bills, and I believe in the 6th round, the same year as Gabe Davis. So 3 years ago, he was on IR for his rookie year. They basically, I think, was on the practice squad last year. I thought he was on the active roster. He maybe been logged. I believe he played snaps.
He got in. Yeah, he got in a few times, at least 2 games where he played offensive snaps when they were really beat up, when they lost Gabe. I think McKenzie might have been out for those games. He got in. He had a 6-target game. It was super garbage time. I watched that game. But last week, he was on the field for 62% of the Giant snaps in his first game, at least on the active roster for them. Like,
Okay.
he knows the system. He's going to play a bunch of snaps. It's worth something. It's not worth a ton, but
No, it's worth everything, and we're very excited. 3K flat. He will also be in the lineup. I like this. Let's see. Trying to see what his yards per route run are. I doubt it's
he
very high.
hasn't run
There's
many,
only
right?
one. It's only one. Hey, actually, okay, here we go. Kyle, get ready to be excited. He has a 14.5 ADOT, known deep threat. He's not a deep threat. He's like a slot guy. Known deep threat Isaiah Hodgins, 2.73 yards per route run.
That's my king right there. That has to be because in week 5 they put him in at the end of the game, and he got like 4 of his 6 targets on the final 2 drives while playing. I think it was Case Keenum.
Oh no, I'm. This is bad math because that was only for the Giants. So I'm misleading you guys a little bit. Or am I? He has 3.15 yards per route run for the full season. That's even better. This guy's gonna smash.
Let's go. I mean, he's totally viable play. Like he's gonna be. I got to check on Wandale and make sure he's not playing, but he was like back-to-back DMPs I saw, so I don't think he's going.
I could not be more in. I feel like I'm trying to talk you into the play that you suggested, which I'm trying to steal your play. It's basically what's happening. But
I just feel bad because I've given you so many thin plays already, and you sound very excited to play all of them.
They're all going to be in the same lineup. Brian Robinson. I'm literally making a lineup in my head because I want to play Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and I'm like, maybe I can get Mixon in this lineup instead of Robinson if I play Hodgins. We'll see. All right, Mix is a pretty good play. Let's talk tight end, and then we'll get back and do some more start sit here. I have time to go a little over if you do.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. All right. So anything jump out to you tight end? We talked Knox. I think he's pretty solid. Greg Dulcich, only 3,800. Obviously failed spectacularly as chalk last week. Seems like people will go back to him, though, just as the matchup's so good. Yeah. Hayden Hurst, I talked up on our preview podcast yesterday. 3,500. I think that's very, very viable. Pat Freiermuth, I like at 4,200. The thesis there was that with Chase Claypool departing, it's going to open up middle of the field targets, and that seems to have played out. And Freiermuth's just good. And then Tyler Higbee, 4,000, pretty solid. Obviously targets going to open up without Kupp. That one, I feel like I'm happy to fade if it's going to be chalky because I just think the Rams are going to be terrible without Kupp. But anyone else jump out to you? I know you mentioned Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I think the most popular. I think people will just go to Dulcich. I mean, his role has been elite, and I think people are good enough to like chase elite roles for cheap players. Like, I don't think people miss out on see the box score 1 for 11 and fade Dulcich after he's been just like consistently like borderline the team's number 2 receiver. And with Jerry Jeudy, I don't think he's technically been ruled out, but he's not playing this week. He probably will be their like literal number 2 receiver. Dulcich will. So I think people will go there.
So he only needs a couple plays to get there.
He plays more like a receiver. He's got like a 13 ADOT this year, or 12 ADOT. It's only behind Kyle Pitts, like you pointed out. So he like can actually fill a bit of that receiver role that they're in desperate need of. So I think people will go to him. Higbee coming off of the game in which Cooper Kupp goes down, gets 8 for 73. I think people will go there. I think people go back to Pitts just because like his target totals have been really strong the past 3 weeks, 8, 7, 9. And most importantly, he plays in the game everyone wants to play. Do you have I mean, they're all fine, but really like I kind of agree that Hayden Hurst, a little interesting. I'd play Foster Moreau because I think Dulcich is the best sub 4K play. Like I'm not going to, have any like big debate about that. But do I think he is like 3 times as better as Hayden Hurst, which is what I think their ownership discrepancy could be? Probably not. Like same with Foster Moreau. Probably even the same with like
I agree with that. I don't like Moreau like at all. You're going against an elite Denver pass defense. So I struggle with Moreau, but I agree with you on Hurst. I think Hurst could be I think he got a pretty nice role this week. And as long as they can protect against this Pittsburgh pass rush, they will have TJ Watt back. So maybe they don't protect well. But if they can, they're very beatable in the secondary. And Hurst has had a decent target rate, pretty decent target rate last year. Covered up by the fact that he didn't run all the routes because they were winning so badly.
Do you have a take on the Philly tight ends? I have no clue what to do with these guys.
I would not be starting any Philly tight ends, even as DFS pump plays, because I think Denny pointed out on our preview pod, they activated or signed whichever
they activated Tyree Jackson.
Activated, okay, Tyree Jackson. Yeah, he's like a very athletic, I believe, former quarterback.
Yeah, former quarterback at Buffalo, played quarterback for the XFL's DC Defenders, but then moves to tight end when he comes to Philly, and hasn't seen much. He's been pretty hurt. Also, super.
Hasn't seen much. I believe he broke his back in the 2021 training camp, or some kind of major injury, and they kept him on the active roster.
Yeah, you're right about all this.
So that they didn't have to put him on season-ending IR, and then he did play at the very end of the season. So they're like intrigued by this guy. They wanted to see what they had. They must have liked what they had to an extent because he made the practice squad or whatever. And yeah, so he's going to be. I think he will run routes. I don't think he'll run enough routes. And then you're looking at like Jack Stoll, and they have this other guy, Grant Calcaterra or something. So I think it's going to feel Lionsy. Like you're going to start one of these guys, and the other two are going to catch a touchdown, and you're just going to hate your life. So don't do it.
Yeah, it's like Schrodinger's tight end, but you can only find out that you're wrong upon viewing the subject.
Yeah. Even if all three, like pick you two friends, and you all start one of the tight ends, you'll all be wrong, and then they'll all fail.
Exactly.
You will not be right this week on the Eagles tight ends. You will not be. So I guess if you're correlating it, I really like Knox. Dulcich, I feel like I don't need to go there because I can play Knox. Like I think I'd just rather play Knox straight up than Dulcich, maybe just like literally just straight up, like ownership aside. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I would probably still take Dulcich straight up. His competition for targets is less. I think that deep A dot as far as tight end. I mean, it's not even like he has like a 9 A dot. It is a like respectable field, like chain moving wide receiver A dot at 12 or 13, something like that. Is like really does probably help him achieve in some games, obviously in some it doesn't, a ceiling outcome that Knox's only strong path to a ceiling outcome is multi-touchdowns. But I will totally say ownership.
You're right. I'd take it back. I'd play Dulcich. And I'd certainly, like, if I was debating between starting the two, I would start Dulcich. But I guess I'm just thinking, like, it's correlated with Allen, when I want to play a lot of Allen. And I love that game environment. So, in that sense, eating the Dulcich chalk is just going to be tough. All right. Anything else, or should we bang on some start sit questions?
I'll throw out TJ Hawkinson. If you're playing that game, it's not my favorite game to play, but I do think he won't be popular because you got to pay a lot more to get from, Higbee, Dulcich to Hawkinson, who hasn't like lit it up in Minnesota, but his role has been really good. 19 targets, 20-something% target share, 25% target share in the red zone, and played like 90% of snaps in back-to-back weeks. So he's like, I think he's their de facto number 2 receiver. They don't have good receivers outside of Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen's his worst year in terms of efficiency by a country mile. KJ Osborne is like a typecast number 3. So I think Hawkinson could just be a number 2 receiver on a good passing attack for 5,300. So if you're playing that game, I think he's probably a unique way to play it.
I like that take a lot. All right, let's go to a trade question. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Jameson Williams, and Ramondre Stevenson. So he's just bailing on the Falcons side of this. For Stephon Diggs, Alvin Kamara, Evan Ingram, DeAndre Carter, and Melvin Gordon. Just some throw-ins here. Dynasty. Oh, man, this is a dynasty trade? I got to rethink this whole thing. Win now. I mean, this is wild here, guys. This is a much more complicated question than I would prefer.
I would look at his Pitts, London, Jameson, and Ramondre. Ooh, for Diggs, Kamara. I don't care about. I assume that's Evan.
He's going win now.
It's just Diggs and Kamara on the one side.
Too much to give up.
I agree.
It's too much.
Like the difference between Ramondre and Kamara. London,
no, you want the London, Pitts, Ramondre, Jameson Williams is. He could be a star. This is way too much.
Yeah, to me, like in terms of win now mode, Ramondre and Kamara are not that distance from each other. Like just to make the math easy, I'm just going to cross them out. It's like, are you comfortable even like just calling it win now? Not even the fact that Ramondre is way younger than Kamara and way less run on his team. Contract situation will be better. Are you comfortable for win now giving up Pitts, London, Jameson for Diggs? No, and of course, like I want to try and ship it this year, but I think win now trades like almost universally bad for the team trying to win now. Like there's so much.
You're giving up
randomness.
Ramondre, who's producing, right? You're giving. I mean, Pitts and London are dramatically underperforming, but they're going to be like high redraft picks next year because there's. I get you're literally trying to win a championship this year, but it's not like you're like 3 years down the line with this package here. All right, Watson. Okay, that's not a question. Is it too early to move Watson ahead of Olave rest of season? I guess this guy's doing ranks, Kyle. He's like us. He's doing content.
Look, do it. I'll send you the login for my ranks, and you can do it.
Yeah, you can update our ranks. let's do that. Everyone wins. No, I think Olave over Watson rest of the season.
Yes, for sure, easily.
2 of 3: Mooney, Slayton, Nico Collins.
The first two for me. I'm not playing Nico Collins. I know, like he did have a really strong target share last week. Like he's shown a pretty.
I think I would play Nico Collins.
Over who?
Because he ran more routes than Cooks, and he's on per target basis. Their volume has been like identical this season. So if he's running more routes, he's the number one. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I don't think Nico Collins is good. Is the problem? I think he's the worst of these three players.
Okay. Oh man, that might have fallen. He was a much hyped best ball pick. I think for me it'll be Collins and I guess Mooney, just given the game environment. But you'd be Slayton and Mooney.
Slayton and Mooney.
Wow, I'm the anti-Slayton guy all of a sudden. Slayton, Tony, or Pittman. Whoa, Slayton!
No.
What a riser!
Slayton's agent paid our Avila, I believe. Slayton's agent paid to get in this tweet or in this question.
I'm gonna send this to Overzone. He's gonna lose his mind. Slayton, Tony, or Pittman? It's Pittman, right?
Over Tony? Probably, but
I think it's Pittman.
Yeah.
Tony wouldn't be crazy, but I think it is Pittman. Any argument against Nico Collins? Well, Kyle hates him, so yeah. But I do like him. I think he's the number one, as I said. Josh Palmer or DPJ for flex?
It looks like we're getting all of our Chargers back this week, so DPJ.
Please. I agree. And I am very hopeful that happens. Pick a number 2 flex. I don't even have a bunch of those guys. I just want better football.
Yeah.
Pick a number 2 flex this week in half PPR. Hunt, Nico Collins, or Gallup.
Oh, he might sell me on Nico here.
It's Nico.
You've definitely, yeah, it has to be.
Mooney, Tony, or risk waiting for Marquise Brown?
Tony.
I think we got this one already. Yeah. Bench Dulcich if Njoku plays this week.
Nope.
No. They're pretty close.
They'd be close if Njoku was 1,000,000% healthy. If we had no concerns at all, I'd probably still take. It doesn't matter. The point is that I have no clue if Njoku is healthy. I know Dulcich is. So.
James Conner or Tony?
I think you take James Conner.
I think you take James Conner too.
Yeah.
We got this one. Pick 3, non-PPR. Melvin Gordon, Latavius Murray, Chris Olave, Paris Campbell, Nico Collins.
Olave, Campbell. Am I going to take all 3 receivers even though it's on PPR? I think I am.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Kyle, are we playing some Nico Collins in DFS?
I am not. Dude, he's not good.
The way we do this?
He's good. How much? Actually, let me find out how much he is. Then I'll tell you my answer.
All right, Kyle, can you shout this one, please? It's all caps.
Oh, yeah. Let me see. A streamer quarterback, Pickett or Goff, full PPR. Oh, I actually shouted full.
That wasn't
well, do you have to shout full PPR?
Please don't be rude.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't have shouted that part.
I'll take it from the top.
No. All right, Pickett or Goff?
Goff.
Goff. For sure. Goff. Sutton or Amari Cooper? Did you put Goff in caps? Is that what I'm? Sutton or Amari Cooper flex PPR?
Sutton.
Man, so you're these home and road splits. I think it's Sutton too, actually.
Yeah.
Trade Swift and DJ Moore for Kamara and Duvernay.
Yeah, dude. Don't Swift, dude. What?
Yes. I mean,
I love Swift with everything in my heart and in the thicker part of my body. But man, we may never get a dozen touches from him again. My thighs is what that was.
Go. Let's move on. Elijah Moore is going to light up New England underneath this week. Full PPR only. Okay. Green Truth has
Godspeed,
figured it
King.
out. Now, Green Truth, I'm going to go out on a limb here. You a Jets fan, maybe? You a Jets fan? I think Green Truth might be a Jets fan.
I did like
there,
how,
Standard
despite
League.
being a Jets fan, he was like, it has to be PPR, though. Otherwise, he's useless.
PPR only?
My man's going to light it up with 8
crush,
catches, 8 yards.
Oh, Zach Wilson's good, but only PPR. Edwards or Carter this week?
Standard. Carter, yeah.
Carter. Pick 2, please. George Pickens, Deontay Foreman, and Kadarius Toney.
Pickens, Foreman, Toney. Obviously, Toney and Foreman. Not even no question.
I agree. Pick 2, Rondale Moore, Garrett Wilson, Tony Pollard, Deontay Foreman.
More Wilson.
Yeah. What do you think? How healthy do you think Zeke is?
I think if he's playing, he gets reps. Dude, supposedly, he was not healthy at all last year with the PCL injury, and they did not care. So I think if he is active, and I think he's playing this week, it looks pretty confident, not 100%, but pretty confident he plays. He's getting half the backfield. And I'd take Garrett Wilson over half of, a dozen Tony Pollard touches. Same with Rondale Moore.
Man, I'd be so tempted to play Pollard over Garrett.
Sure, I get it.
It would come down to reports, I think, on how much Zeke's going to play. But I agree that I would. The first one for me would be Moore, I think. Mariota, Patterson, or Fields Montgomery.
Interesting. I mean, Fields, unless this is a
Fields
even if it is a
Montgomery's
DFS question,
right?
Yeah, Fields Montgomery, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ownership would be the only reason to not go that way.
And even then, Patterson doesn't run a ton of routes anymore. He doesn't line up as a receiver.
I agree. Yeah, and Patterson's not that cheap, right? It's not like he's
60. He's actually, I think he's almost identical price. That's what I thought about too. I was like, what if Patterson's 5,400? I'm almost positive he's 62, I believe. So there's in no context could you take that side. None.
Agreed. Standard League, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, or Brian Robinson.
Brian. It's standard. We don't care about his no catches.
It's standard. I know. You're right. Brian Robinson. Gabe Davis or Michael Pittman? Pittman. We got this one. Is Russ going to be used too much to be a great punt play? I don't think people are playing Russell Wilson.
No. I promise you, he won't be over like 5%. If he's, I would like shove all my chips in on a slate.
Clean double though. Right?
Yeah, and I will say I'm pulling up ownership, and it has him right around. It's just over 5%. I would bet against that, but I guess it is kind of a not great slate to pay down. I don't think he's over 5%, so I'd say he's
Sutton 6,000. Dulcich is 3,800. Russ is 5,800.
Yeah.
What do you think? That crazy?
I mean, I wouldn't play it. The thing is, Russell Wilson is terrible. So if he's going to be like,
he is terrible, but
if there's even a chance,
which I know, a lot of salary.
Yeah, even in like, I didn't think he'd be over 5%. Looking at it, I guess it's possible. And because it is possible, I would literally never play
him. I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Plus, there's actually a lot of quarterback upside on the slate, so you're fading a lot to play.
Look, save $600 and play Davis Mills. You'll get just as much production.
I think we got this. Pickett or Goff. Goff. Who lines up against Diggs for Cleveland? Doesn't matter. He's going to go off. Fields, Komet, Mariota, Patterson. We got that one. Flex 1. Jacobs, Tony, Mike Williams, or Elijah Mitchell.
Jacobs.
Yeah, I think that's Jacobs. Is Sue going to play this week? And does it matter?
Doesn't matter. Probably not. No. Is he going to play? I kind of think he will. We had a bunch of players at the trade deadline show up on Friday and still somehow play, like after getting none of the playbook. And his job is just to be a big dude in the middle right now. So he can probably do that on a day, 2 days with the Saturday walkthrough.
Yeah, and I don't think it really matters because JT is going to get all the work. So, I mean, maybe it helps shore up the run defense a little, but I doubt a ton. The Steelers D, are they going to boom this week against Cincinnati in the rematch?
It is a pretty good spot. I think they'll be popular in DFS because they're 23. They'll be super popular in DFS because they're 2,300. And
I think they have a high ceiling.
Yeah, defenses against the Bengals are really good in terms of getting to face dropbacks, which are very likely to turn into sacks relative to other ones. So, I mean, in terms of like season-long, fire them up. I'm probably not going there in DFS. I think they might be the most popular defense. They're so cheap and a legit good play.
Yep. Pick 3, non-PPR.
We got this one. Thank God. I
Get
can't
this?
answer it again.
Okay, I know. All the non-PPRs. Start Tony if Juju is out, or Pollard.
Tony.
Or
or Olave. I
Olave.
skipped right to it. Olave.
Well,
Olave.
But it's pick 2, so it's Olave and Tony.
Yes.
Any update on Hopkins?
DeAndre?
What would the update be?
He's
Hopkins?
good. I guess they
Like
play
Baker
Monday. Oh, he actually might not have been spotted at the open portion of practice on Thursday. I was logged off by then, so
Jefferson's Justice League is breaking news to us, the Rotoworld Blurbers.
Okay, there is an update on it though. It is Kingsbury called it a maintenance deal, so he's fine.
Okay, all good.
JD's citing our blurb, which I checked while we were on, and he was like, "Yeah, I think Wandale will be out there after he didn't practice or whatever." It definitely wasn't like he's fine, we're just resting him. It's like cope.
I see. All right.
He might still play, but it just wasn't a guarantee by any means.
If Andrews is out, what do you think the likely ownership will be? That's a good question.
Let me see how much he is. I haven't. He is 3,600. I guess like at least 15%. He would probably take the Dulcich spot and then some. Frankly, he might be. I'd say between 15 and like 22.
Yeah. I mean, they feel fairly comparable to me. Like I don't think he's like an obvious like, oh, you got to play him over Dulcich because Dulcich's matchup is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I think likely's better. But like if it was like 25 likely versus 15 Dulcich, I think that'd be enough for me to go Dulcich. So it makes me wonder if they won't be too much further than that.
Yeah, maybe they won't even be that far apart. Especially depends on when we get like Andrews ruled out. If it happens like Friday, middle of the day, it probably would be a pretty like obvious likely spot. If it happens like Sunday at inactives, it'd be different.
Yeah. Is Komet a safer play over Kittle? Given Kittle's run blocking.
No.
Yeah, I agree. I think
talented players have higher floors generally. Not that Komet isn't talented. I'm just saying Kittle is awesome.
No, and his target rate actually stinks, Komet. It's all been touchdowns. So
I know this was true a few weeks ago. On passing plays, Kittle is not blocking a ton. Like,
he blocks a lot. Like he actually has a decent route rate. People get all because he's good at run blocking.
I don't care whether or not he's run blocking. Like those snaps were never going to be useful anyways. I just don't want him staying in to block.
It's actually good because he's like in on play action and stuff.
Yeah.
I do like the bit though. Should I start Swift, Jamal Williams, or Isaiah Pacheco, or should I start Mike Williams, assuming he plays? If he doesn't play, who are you going with?
Pacheco. But I agree. Start Mike Williams.
God, what a terrible season for Swift. Michael Pittman, Tony, or Randall Moore. I wouldn't start Randall Moore because it doesn't exist. I might start Michael Pittman instead.
Yeah, and Tony because it's pick 2. But yes.
Oh, it's pick 2.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't start Randall Moore. Elijah Mitchell, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Also, I need a streaming quarterback, and the best available are question answer.
Is it like in the next comment?
I don't see it. Oh wait, here it is. Either of them below. Goff, Ryan, and Pickett. So let's answer this first. Goff, Ryan, or Pickett? Goff. All right. And now full PPR, Mitchell or DPJ?
DPJ?
I think it's probably DPJ. Just play for it to be a shootout. Trade Kenneth Walker for Justin Jefferson. Yes?
Yes, easily, yeah.
Yes.
Kenneth Walker is good. Justin Jefferson is like doing stuff people cannot do. Like, so yeah. Kenneth Walker's really good.
So he's definitely thinner. He's got Henry, Fournette, and Foreman. And obviously Fournette's a backup running back now, so sorry about that. But deeper at wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, T. Higgins, and Olave. I still think I'm doing this.
I don't know, man. I guess I do.
You can only start 3 at wide receiver. I mean, if you have a 4th flex, because if you can get 4 of these guys in your lineup.
Yeah, is it 3 receivers and a flex, or is it 2 flex? I will say, if you cannot start 4 wide receivers, you're probably keeping Ken Walker.
I think I'd still make the trade. Because then I'm got DeAndre Hopkins and Jefferson Hopkins locked in. And then I'm just basically, I've got my wide receiver 3 is going to smash you because one of Olave or Higgins is going to be going to be excellent.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how I think through it.
Yeah.
And I think you're okay enough at running back. All right, pick 2 running backs. Pierce versus Washington. Williams at the Giants. Swift at New England. Singletary versus Cleveland.
Pierce and we need 2 running backs and Singletary.
That was my second as well. I've fallen and I can't get up. Pick 2 in half PPR. George Pickens, Deontay Foreman, Kadarius Toney.
Foreman,
Tony questions. And lots of I agree. Tony.
It's a shame Tony isn't on the main slate because I'd play 100% of him.
Yeah, it is a bummer, and I'll play Showdown. So, what a waste! What a waste! Which 2 wide receivers would you play in PPR? Mike Williams, Tyler Boyd, Devontae Smith, or George Pickens? Mike Williams and Devontae Smith.
Definitely. I was trying to think if there's any way. Like, I just sweat it with like some grimy late swap if Mike Williams is somehow ruled out.
Agreed. Pick 2 to 3 wide receiver. Right? Is that what this is?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
We can pick 2 or 3. It's up to us. DeAndre Hopkins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Deebo Samuel, Gabe Davis, Keenan Allen.
I think I would rank them in that order, except maybe flip Davis and Deebo. But D-Hop, Amon-Ra, Davis, and Deebo. You could sell me the other way. I'm not playing Keenan Allen, so.
Definitely the first 2. And you know what? I don't even have to pick a third. I'm going to pick just 2.
It's true.
I'm going to pick just 2. I agree, though.
You got this one.
Man, blasting in this question 3 times, Josh Richardson. 3 times. Any argument for Nico Collins? You know what? Yes. Don't play Nico now. I was on your side before. For PPR leagues, which 3 running backs would you play? Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, Najee Harris, Tony Pollard, or Antonio Gibson?
Tony Pollard is the third.
It's Mixon, Montgomery, and Pollard. I agree.
Yep.
I think we're getting to the end here, which is good because it's 2:12. Cordero Patterson, Jamal Williams, or Foreman. Pick 2.
Cordero Patterson.
We are not getting to the end, so I'm gonna call it after the next question because it's too late. We went.
All right. Let's go with Cordero and Foreman.
Cordero and Foreman. All right. George Pickens, Marquise Brown, or James Robinson. This is an interesting. Would you...
I am betting heavily against Marquise Brown playing it. I still, and the beats kind of seem to think he's more like 1 week out. So I wouldn't ride that out till game time unless we get something more definitive. I guess James Robinson over George Pickens, but do you have an opinion on that one?
I would go Pickens at that.
Okay, sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. So sorry we did not get to all the questions. As an apology, I'm going to answer the very last question that was put in. Half PPR, I got Mahomes, Mixon, Aaron Jones, Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, Pitts. Do I trade Amari Cooper and receive Foreman?
No.
You do not do that. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week at 1 to answer more your start sit, talk some more DFS. Make sure to check out all the great content on the site. Kyle's got you covered for DFS. I have you covered for a very in-depth preview article called The Walkthrough. You can check that out on rotoworld.com. You can also check out the rest of our podcast content. The recap podcast comes out on the Rotoworld football show feed. Kyle comes on, everyone who covers the games comes on, and we talk through all the games, giving you all the critical context you need right away. You can check that out. And we also do a preview podcast on Thursdays. Kyle, Lawrence, and Pat do a rankings podcast early in the week. And Pat and Denny have you covered for a little knowledge and a little laughs. Rotoworld football show. Check it out. And we'll see you next week.